Welcome back to another episode of a human design reading. And this is a really interesting chat because there are so many juxtapositions, contradictions, tripwires, and we're really going to dissect what it means to be a quad right pure generator with a 6-2 profile line. So without further ado, let's bring up that chart and start dissecting it. I'm really excited to do this reading because this is for a client that has been in my one-on-one container and we've gotten to deeply work together. And Cindy, I know that the level of understanding that you already have of your human design is incredible. So this reading is not going to go over the basics. This is really going to get into the nitty gritties of how you are here to build a personal brand. So let's start with the contradictory pieces that I see in this chart, because I know, having worked with you, you come up against the two wolves that fight inside of you, and it's very clear as to why that is when you look at your charts. The first thing is that you are a quad right, which means you are somebody that is not here to follow structures. The way of the world is also changing. We've gone from very much a quad left perspective where everything has to be structured and rigid and dogmatic, and society runs off of that. And we're now moving more into our emotional intelligence, which you really do have, being a quad right and being that you're undefined in your emotional center. You are somebody that's deeply here to experience what it is like to be emotionally intelligent and to do things in your own rhythms. Now, again, when we speak about rhythms, you also have gate 5 in your conscious sun, and that's a very prevalent placement because that is your main character energy here. And your main character energy loves habits and following routines, and that feels like a structure. So this is the biggest kind of paradox in your chart, is that your overall energy is here to really embrace life, to experience life through this beautiful, nurturing kind of grounded energy, to not have structure, to not pay attention to the rules, to really walk to the beat of your own drum. And that's amplified through a couple of areas of your chart. Being a quadrate is very much that energy of you're here to collect a lot of information and you're great at perceiving it. And this is why you may struggle at times to provide a framework, because you are a living embodiment of the work that you're here to share. And so how I read your overall chart is that you are here to live life to its fullest, to have the biggest adventure, to really showcase what it's like to be the highest expression of your life, and then kind of transmute that into wisdom along the way. And although there is that part of you that will eventually then take the information up into mind to analyze it with that channel of abstraction you've got going on there is still going to always be that push pull energy of, I just want to like let things flow to me and be in the frequency of what I'm teaching. And then you're going to question, but how did I get here? But the truth is, you're not going to know because of your quadrate energy, because of the way you are here to digest information in the world and how you view things and perceive things. And that's one of your superpowers. So this is why doing done for you templates for clients that are coming to you for social media advice isn't the way you're going to coach people, because people will be activated by you through that beautiful channel of exploration, the 1034, when you are being the embodiment of living life, going out and living life. That is literally what you are designed to do, is to basically follow your own conviction. And when you follow your own conviction, that's when you start to really explore that 6-2 profile line and be the energy that attracts all of the beautiful miracles and magic into your life. So let's just dissect a couple of things here, because the purpose of this reading is to really help you understand what your essence of creating a personal brand looks like. So being a generator means that you are somebody that absolutely loves to do the work. And your environment is going to be particularly important, specifically with being a quadrate, because your environment And again, this is a bit of a contradictory one because your environment is really going to shape the information that you're taking in from the world, but you also still have a solidness to who you are and where you're going and your direction in life. So your environment isn't going to shape who you believe you are, but your environment is going to expose you to the filter that you look at the world through, being that quadrite. And so if you're somebody that is surrounded by a lot of people playing the fool, you'll be the other person that then plays the fool because of that quadrite energy. But there's going to be that solidness to you of going, well, I'm going to play the fool, but in my way, and I'm going to lead with my own convictions. But your environment is going to be incredibly powerful because when you are surrounded by other people that are like-minded, that are high ambitious women, you're going to like really tap into that energy. And being somebody that is an athlete, being somebody that has that strive to be elite, when you hang around elite people, well, you naturally become a person who is elite by design, and you have the ability to do that. So being a generator and being a generator in your business, showing people behind the scenes of what your day to day looks like is going to be incredibly powerful for you. Doing vlog style edits, doing what I'm eating, all of those things which you are already doing, which is why your accounts are starting to really blow up. It's because everybody wants to know what it looks like to live a day in your life. Because when you're the embodiment of having the joyful life, finding adventure, and really walking the talk, be following your own convictions and really just emanating that out into the world, people are going to feel very magnetized by you. Now, of course, that kind of content doesn't work for everyone, but for you, it really will. People want to be inspired by you. People will look up to you. And as your life progresses, that energy is going to amplify more as you start to step into being the role model. So right now, as you know, you're on the roof of your design, which means that for the first 28 to 30 years of your life, you're gaining a whole lot of wisdom through having many, many, many different experiences. You're now moving into the phase where you're starting to alchemize all of the life experiences that you've ever had in order to become the sage-like person who has so much in-depth wisdom. You don't need to wait until your Chiron return at around the age of 50 to step into that new era of your life to then be the sage and the role model and the teacher. You can already start being that. And when we think about this in terms of content, so we've got the content that you need to show people behind the scenes. That's what magnetizes a generator's clientele to them, is showing the behind the scenes, the inner workings, how you're building things. Because when you love what you're building, people are going to see that and recognize that too. Then for you, educational content will only land if it's done in a storytelling way and you're not selling facts. And I know that you know this, but this is just maybe that permission slip of why this works for you. When you try to logically analyze things and do it from a teaching perspective of you have to follow X, Y, and Z strategy, it's not going to land with your audience because of the quadrite energy and a couple of other elements in your chart. Now, again, this is where there will be a slight nuance because you've got that 6447 channel, which is your mind connecting to your Ajna. And basically, what that allows you to do is it allows you to tap into the quantum realm to see many different pieces of information and then bring them down in order to analyze them and then turning past situations into insightful moments. Now, this is a very interesting channel because when you are feeling confused, you need to embrace the confusion because through your confusion is where clarity will come. But it's going to be really challenging for you to have clarity on yourself. But you assessing other people's businesses, you assessing other people's content will be really easy to sift through the confusion and find the clarity for them. But for yourself, it's going to be really challenging. But this is one of your superpowers that you get to use in your business. And so when you're creating content, it really becomes about the thought process of how you understand where your clients are at and show people and articulate that thought process of how you went through the thought process. Now, again, there's that nuanced stage because you don't like strategies, you don't like frameworks, etc. But what people will look at you for is what are your thought processes. Like if you had a new client enrolling with you, what would you be doing behind the scenes to take in all of that information that you would require to then understand what that person's specific messaging is? And that's where you'll also learn how to just tap into that true line, which is that naturalness. So you do have a very poetic, natural way of creating content, which is something that is just a natural element of you and it can't necessarily be taught. But when you take a moment to go, hmm, well, what were my thought processes? Not what was my strategy, not what was my framework, what was my thought process behind this? You'll be able to articulate it in a greater capacity. Now, when it comes to articulation, the reason why your gift is articulation is because you're here to gain a lot of wisdom, having an undefined throat center. But at times, it will feel like you've got so much going on inside your mind that you don't know how to translate it out into the world. And so you're going to have a very non threatening way of communicating what you experience, which is beautiful. And which is why, again, storytelling will work incredibly, incredibly well for your brand. Now, let's go into storytelling even deeper here, because I think that this is going to be the biggest block of content that is really going to add to your personal brand, which I know you already know, but I want to go into the mechanics of why your design also says that. Essentially, with being a 6-2 profile line, with being the quadrite, with having the gate 35, which is the gate of adventure in your conscious sun, you are somebody that needs to be so embodied in living life. And you are somebody that has so many different experiences, but they feel so normal to you. Yet from the outside looking in, it is incredibly interesting. It is incredibly interesting. The things that you probably shy away from, and I know we've had some discussions about that before, but things that you shy away from of like, oh, but that's like not interesting about me. Like that wouldn't fly. Those are the things that make you so, so, so interesting. But I think that because it's such a normal experience for you, it becomes, well, how do I get to tell a story out of this? But really think about that. Your whole life experience is one magnificent masterpiece. And when you can really showcase that and articulate that to the world and why you have specific purpose behind that storytelling, that's the magnetism to your entire personal brand. And when you get into a routine with that, a routine and a rhythm with that, that's why clients will come to you. And that's exactly where you are in your business right now. And I want you to really see that. You have found a way to create your raw experiences into a storytelling mechanism that then resonates with others. And that's why your framework works, because you are the embodiment of that proof. So Raw to Resonance, which is an amazing program that you are launching, is perfectly in harmony with your mechanics and your design. And I really want you to see that. And please never stop promoting it. So let's go into now why people will be magnetized and come to you in their specific journeys, and then how you can use your storytelling ways to really showcase to people that you can deeply resonate and hold them with so much grace and love, because that is a huge part of what you're here to do. So people will come to you because they will feel impatient when they are not getting the results in their business that they desire. Now, I know that you are somebody that is here to really help people unlock how to create content through their life experiences. And I don't see you as a social media coach. I don't see you as a business coach. I see you as a category of one, and you are creating your own niche right now, because what I see you doing is very different to anybody else. And so people will see that too when they have tried, and this is language that I already see you using, which is brilliant. They will come to you when they've tried doing all the courses and are still impatient because they're not getting their results. And through your frameworks, through your guidance, they will find the patience to stick the course to building their business and creating content in a way that does speak to people. People will also come to you when they feel that there is this void inside of them. And they're either going to get to a point with their content and social media where they either feel that there is so much stuckness, there is almost this insatiable void that they're just sitting in, but they have so much fight and flight around it that they can't move. And on the other end of the spectrum, that void is going to make them say yes to everything, and they're going to overindulge in anything and everything. And this is where they'll probably overindulge in courses too to help fix the impatient problem. And it's that hunger that's driving them to act in this way. And when they realize that the void is showing them just where they get to have adventure in their life in a really balanced way of going, yes, to this experience, but not overcommitting themselves and not burning and hustling, that's when they'll reach the magical place of being patient with their brand because they're living their brand too. And this is a very big part of your messaging. And then what's happening in the background as well is that when the void comes, that's also when you're going to be experiencing a lot of confusion because that is just how you are designed to be. But again, the confusion helps you find clarity. The confusion helps you find the ways to articulate things that are really going to help your audience and benefit them. And then when we move into your unconscious sun, that beautiful 47th gate there, that's when you're going to find ways to transmute their impatience, their hunger, and help them really liberate themselves so that they can feel that they're not oppressed by social media. So if the client comes to you feeling oppressed, it's because they will deeply resonate with parts of you where you've felt oppressed in your life. And this is a big topic because it's not just about content, it's also about generational things, it's about systemic and cultural and all these different beliefs that we carry. And so I know that mindset work is something that you do want to go more into. And again, you don't need to be a mindset coach in order to activate people here. This is where, again, your storytelling of the things that you're doing behind the scenes to help you shift through things from a mindset perspective will land and land very powerfully. And that is part of that unconscious sun, which is, again, part of how you're here to really glow up in the world. And when you're feeling that you're transmuting your own life, that's when you're going to feel that glow overcoming you. That's when you're going to be literally shining light on other people's lives for them to shine brighter too. And when we look at your channels and the overall theme, part of what you're doing is you're shocking people into that initiation by following your own convictions and then transmuting confusion into clarity. So that's kind of bringing all of the different elements of your design together. And you're going to do this because part of your purpose is to lead with grace. Grace is the highest energy and the highest form that you can lead yourself with. It's a beautiful energy to lead with. People with that gate, and especially with your placement being in such a prevalent placement, they say that people with gate 22 energy are people that are able to walk into charity events and do the most amount of fundraising in a room because they have that magnetism to them naturally. And you've obviously also got like other areas in your charts that allow you to just constantly be that magnetic version of yourself. But when that gets turned off, so when your magnetism is not on, when you're feeling burnt out, when you're feeling tired, when you're not feeling the vibes, your whole aura goes and it kind of collapses in on itself. And that is when you're going to need to feel like you hide away a little bit from the world at large and find the energy to rebuild itself up until people are starting to invite you out. That's what the hermit does. The hermit has all of this natural passion that it outpours and gives and gives and gives. And then it gets to a point where it's like, oh, my energy is tapped out. This is also very like common of the 22nd gate. And you then go in, you have that moment of hibernating. But when you're hibernating, the right people will find you and be like, hey, do you want to like come and do a collaboration with me or podcast with me? And they'll invite you out of that hermit state. And it's really important that you respond to the right invitations there. So that would be following your strategy and your authority. So that is kind of just putting together all the different pieces of why people will come to you. And people will feel in their lives that they haven't always shown up in their business with grace. They'll feel that there were parts of them that were dishonoring the process or themselves or their messaging or who they want to be in their brand. And I think we're seeing a lot of people facing these exact shadows right now in the industry. So it's a really beautiful thing that you, and a very cool talking point that you get to leverage because it is a part of you very naturally. So I want to go through to kind of start wrapping up everything in a beautiful bow. What you are here to teach on versus what you are here to guide people on. And yes, we have all of the chart, but there's this very nuanced, subtle line between that's the difference between teaching and guiding. Teaching is I have the knowledge and I have the wisdom, and this is how I'm going to help you because I have this consistent access to this knowledge. Whereas guidance is I'm learning just as much as you are. I'm experiencing different energies. I don't have all of the answers, but because I've experienced so much, I'm here to guide you. So that's the difference. So you're here to teach on ideas. How do you get ideas for content? That is a perfect topic for you. You are here to teach on values, beliefs. That's where that drive for I want to teach people about mindset comes from. Again, when you're teaching from your own experience, that is going to land with people because that is what you're here to teach on. You're here to teach on the direction of people's lives, their purpose, their kind of bigger vision for where they want to go and how they get to be lovable no matter what in pursuit of where they are going. You are here to teach on what it's like to live in the material plane. So for you, when you hit your millions, you may want to do unboxings of certain things. And it doesn't need to be in the standard traditional way of like a Louis Vuitton handbag and things like that. But for you, experiencing the material plane is a part of why you're here. And never ever dim your light for wanting your version of luxury in your life. And you are here to teach on energy output. So how to use your energy in the best way. People will come to you because they will want to know how you're doing everything. And again, through your own perspectives, through following your own convictions, through the storytelling mechanisms, you will be able to really lock in that message and it will land really well. Where you are here to guide people is through communication. You are going to be able to really tap into the many different voices. This is your greatest superpower, I believe. You're here to really use your intuition. This is the full picture painted. You're here to really use your intuition to tap into a person's energy, to understand their voice and mimic it in a way that works for them. So you're not going to have a consistent voice all the time, which is brilliant for the work that you're doing in the world, because now you get to tap into other people's voice by using your intuition and help them express that. You're here to really guide people on how to use their intuition. You're here to guide people on how to use their emotions. Again, your whole raw to resonance program is based on how are you using your experiences in your everyday life, which will have a feeling attached to it that will then land with people. It's brilliant. It's a masterpiece. It's a genius. You're a creative masterpiece. You really are, because you're already using these elements so naturally and in such a beautiful way, which is why no wonder, like literally, no wonder your accounts are going viral. No wonder the right people are finding you, because you're really owning this. And with all the inner healing and all of the contemplation and all of the shadows that you've been sitting in, no wonder that you're just experiencing so much growth right. And lastly, you're here to guide people on time pressure. And this is where I see you living a beautiful embodiment of this, is that when you say, my success in my business is inevitable and I don't need it to happen by a certain time, but you're driven by desire. So you desire to have a bigger following. You desire to have all of these things, but you don't need it, which is exactly the message that you are emanating right now. And when you have that desire that really drives you to that thing, but you remove the pressure, which is what you're here to really guide people on, is really that time pressure around things. That is when, again, magic really happens in your life, because you're not here to abide by time pressure. Time is going to be something that will feel really pressing to you, because you'll feel like you're running out of time often. But through that pressure, you will then have the confusion around time, and you'll come up with clarity on how time is actually a friend and how you then get to be time. And that is going to be really impactful to your clients. So those are the points that you're here to teach on versus guide on. And I already see you doing this so naturally and so beautifully in your business. So essentially, you are just here to go out and live your life, to tell stories on that, to follow through on your convictions. And when you can take all of your wisdom and understand where the confusion has created clarity, that is then how you initiate people into their action and how you then help them follow through on their own convictions. But you first have to be a leader in what are you following your convictions on. And when you can really have that leadership piece locked in and loaded and be the woman of your word, the rest comes naturally because you're an embodiment of your work. And that really is how you are already the uncopyable brand version of yourself. So I hope that this has really given you the deeper insights, or I don't even think that you will have learned much new, but it would have given you the permission slips of why you don't want to do the structures and the strategies and the frameworks and the done for you templates. You are here to hold people to a higher standard of really understanding how to translate their life experiences into beautiful content that really resonates and lands with people and becomes that masterpiece that people put out into the world, where it becomes that uncopyable brand. So thank you so much for trusting me to read your chart. And I hope that this has resonated with you in ways that have activated things within you. And I'm really just so grateful to have been chosen to do this reading for you.